So I did my project on how there are traces of Greek mythology within the Wizard of Oz. So some common themes in the Wizard of Oz that exhibit sort of parallels to Greek mythology are, so the main character is usually the hero, which Dorothy plays this part. They usually go on a quest or journey. They encounter companions. So in the case of the Wizard of Oz, it'd be the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion, along with witches as well, but they're not really, a good witch could be considered a companion, but it's not one of the main companions in the story. And they kind of act as helpers along the journey. And then the heroes defeat an either evil being or an evil force. A hero encounters dangerous mythical beasts along her quest or journey. And then the hero returns back home. So those are some common themes that are both in Greek mythology as well as the Wizard of Oz. So the first one I'd like to start off with is the journey to the Emerald City. So there's parallels between the Emerald City and Atlantis, which is kind of like a paradise location in Greek mythology. And an important point is the Emerald City is not like any other destination in common other fairy tales. It's more of like an unknown place with an unknown civilization. And Dorothy doesn't know really what to expect in the Emerald City. And then I'll show you a video of what the Emerald City depicts and how it looks similar to Atlantis visually.
Take me to the Emerald City, down yellow brick roads fast I run. Scarecrow friends will dance beside me, tin toy brothers bright as sun. Take me to the Emerald City, wizards will give us lemonade. It's a land of treasure.
So in that video, you can kind of see, let me go back to the PowerPoint. In that video, you can kind of see how the Emerald City is depicted. It's like a paradise land, sort of unknown. And this is kind of like a visualization of how Atlantis was kind of described in a lot of Greek mythology. And there's clearly a lot of similarities and parallels. It's sort of a castle type place and looks very nice and like paradise. So then another common theme between the two is the good witch. Dorothy encounters a good witch named Glinda, and she's described as beautiful and kind, and she's very helpful to Dorothy. So she's almost kind of takes on these goddess-like characteristics, which is very in direct similarity to Venus in Greek mythology, where she's also beautiful and kind and helpful. And then Dorothy also encounters an evil witch. She's depicted as ugly and obviously evil. And this is very, very similar to depictions of Medusa in Greek mythology and Circe from the island of Aeaea. And I'll show you a video of what Glinda is depicted like and also how it's similar to Venus.
Hello? I'm forgetting we're not in Kansas anymore. We must be over the rainbow.
So that was a depiction of the Good Witch, and this is a visual representation of Venus. They're both depicted as beautiful and kind, and obviously not evil like Medusa, kind of like the opposite of that. Then another theme is mythical beasts, which is kind of the main one I focused on really, but other ones kind of branched off once I thought about it more. In The Wizard of Oz, throughout their journey, Dorothy, Tin Man, Scarecrow, and the Lion are chased by these mythological creatures created by Frank Baum called Kalidas, and they're a mixture. They have bodies like bears and heads like tigers. And then throughout Greek mythology, there's tons of examples of this. So it really kind of looks like Frank Baum kind of derived this type of Kalida character from Greek mythology, specifically centaurs. So those are like half horse, half man. Griffins, those are like a mix of like an eagle and sort of like a tiger or lion-like creatures. And then satyrs, I believe is how you pronounce it. And those are beasts that have sort of features of goats, humans, and oftentimes birds. So they're just a big mix of all different sorts of animals. And then on the left here, we have a kind of visual representation of Kalidas in The Wizard of Oz. And that's a representation of griffins, which is like half tiger, half eagle type thing. And this is Greek mythology. And this is Wizard of Oz, so you can clearly tell a similarity between those two. And keep in mind, this is thousands of years apart as well. So these mythological beasts, also in both stories, they also pose some sort of threat to the protagonist. Dorothy and company have to run away from Kalidas to avoid being harmed. And then also in both Greek mythology and The Wizard of Oz, the protagonist kind of has to either outwit or defeat the enemy, or not the enemy, the mythical beast kind of indirectly along their journey, where Dorothy and Scarecrow and all them, they go across the bridge, and then Tin Man cuts down the bridge, and Kalidas fall into the deep ravine, so they're no longer a threat to them. And then also this can be seen with the flying monkeys as well, because obviously monkeys don't fly, so it's some sort of mixture of beasts as well. And then the last point I wanted to make that you can see parallels is Dorothy's magic slippers. Also, obviously, have traces of Greek mythology within The Wizard of Oz. The most obvious about magical slippers is Hermes, or Hermes, however you pronounce his name, and Mercury of Greek mythology. And they have these commonly known shoes that have wings on the back of them that allow them to move swiftly and even fly. And I'll show you pictures side by side of those two. So those are obviously Dorothy's slippers. There's some sort of fascination with these people with shoes that bring some sort of magical powers. And this is, I guess, Hermes from Greek mythology. You can see his magical shoes as well. So that's my presentation on why or how there are Greek mythology traces throughout The Wizard of Oz.